It is 7:30. Hopefully everybody can hear me on there okay. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear me okay online. You know what? I think I shall end the music. There we go. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome. It's an exciting evening. I've been anticipating this for a while. This is one of my favorite programs of the year. I love doing this because it's just such a fun community event that so many people are involved with. In fact, we had 141 entries, so there's a lot of people involved in tonight's event. And I get the privilege of revealing to you all who the winner is, who the honorable mentions are, and who's in the calendar tonight. So there's three levels of interest and excitement here tonight. Well, my name is Curtis Dykstra, Parks Naturalist and Program Supervisor with Ottawa County Parks. And I want to welcome you in person here at Hemlock Crossing at the Nature Center, and those of you online as well. Thank you for joining us online. And if you're out there, give us a shout out, say where you're watching us from. And we've got somebody monitoring the chat there for a while. And so let us know where you're at. And we love that you're online. So thank you so much for watching. So that's a notice to you all too. This is being live streamed on YouTube. You get to watch it in person. There are others that are watching it live online. So should I just keep talking, or you're like, click on the slides, would you? They're right there. I love the talking part. So it is now Tuesday, November 26th, and it is time for the 2025 Mug Club Photo Reveal event. And tonight, 7 till 7:30 was a social time. There was lots of chatting going on. Love to hear that. Hopefully you guys online were enjoying some time talking about your favorites and things like that. And now, for the next half hour, we'll do the mug reveal, showing the winning photos and such. And then whenever we get done with that, then I will give a presentation on my recent trip to Louisiana for the Yellow Rails and Rice Festival, in search of 2 species in particular, but of course, every bird counts. So I'll be talking about that in a little bit. But let's get this thing moving. I want to give a shout out, and she's in the audience here tonight. First of all, I said, if there's a last time I'm going to drink out of this mug for the year, because with the new mug, you can start drinking out of the new mug, right? I know, I'm sorry. Jeannie is here. Jeannie Stoddard, our 2023 Mug Club Photo Contest. Give her a round of applause. We've enjoyed drinking out of this mug for a year now. Can you believe it? And thank you for coming tonight. This is a beautiful mug with a Cape May warbler. Gave me an excuse to talk about Cape May warblers at the March Coffee with the Birds. And this was taken in May of 2023 at historic Ottawa Beach. So, but it is time for a little change. And this is out with the old, in with the new, right? This is a mosaic of 2023, of the 2023 winner using the 2024 entries. There was a little online tool that I could throw them all in there and it popped this out. Now it repeats a lot of different ones to get the different colors and stuff. I was like, that's pretty cool. So if you look really close at this, you can see ones from this year's entries. And I believe, I haven't double checked, that every one of them is in there. I put all 141 photos in that mosaic maker, so I assume that our winner is in here as well. And what I'm going to do, there we go, 141 entries. It's the largest ever. We went from 85 last year. That was not our largest last year. We had, I think, 90 something the year before that. But to go from 85 to 141, we made the job hard. It was hard enough. But we have a pretty specific process, and I was describing it a little bit earlier, and I think that you should know, too, that Riley here puts a lot of work into this. So First of all, let's give her a couple Sorry, that's a good. For those of you online, Riley Dorman, she's behind the camera there, and she took all the entries and organized them and put them in a PowerPoint that we could all see and not be revealed who took all the photos. That was her secret. And so when we judged these photos, we were blind to whose photos they were. Just so you know, there's no favoritism or anything. So it's always interesting when the reveal is for us, like, who did it? Who took the photo? It's a lot of fun. So, and we do thumbs up, thumbs down on the photos as we go through the first time, and then we assign 10 points to our favorite. We each do, each of us who are in it, 10 points to your favorite, 1 point to your, so your top 10. You assign points according to your top. And then you total up the points for everybody that was voting, and then you keep going from there. So it was a great process, and I think it's worked. It's turned out some great photos so far. I can't deny that there is some discussion along the way and things, which there should be, but ultimately it's a point system that stair steps to the winners. So I'm proud to say that I'm happy with this year's winner. I think all of us on the committee were really happy with it. It was a clear winner and with the points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip by this video because you all were just watching, right? We don't need another 12-minute video before we reveal. Is that fair? If you online or you in the audience didn't watch the video, you can go on to our YouTube channel, the Ottawa County Parks YouTube channel, and you can watch the 12-minute video with all 141 entries in it. And decide for yourself who made a good choice. But so I think I have to start this and then stop it. There we go. So, we're getting right into it. I feel like we're moving too fast. Because we have a nice lineup of mugs right here. If you didn't take a look over there, every mug so far that we have had in this contest is represented up here, and the new one. Okay, all the way back to 2018, the Golden Crown Kinglet, and the Orchard Oriole, Ruby-throated Hummingbird, Tufted Titmouse, Red-headed Woodpecker, Cedar Waxwing, and the Cape May Warbler. So who's next? Who's next? That's what we're going to reveal. But first, we're going to reveal the honorable mentions. So we narrow it down to the finalists, the top ones, and we get a vote and a tally, and we determine the winner. But we like to represent 4 other top photos, at the top of the class of these photos. And I'll tell you what, there are going to be some people that are disappointed in this audience. I'm disappointed we couldn't put more in there, but we just can't. There's so many awesome. I know. I'm just talking, but I am honestly, it's hard to not put all the photos in there. I don't just say that to pay lip service or whatever, but it was fun to look through, but it was hard work, and we had to choose 4 in the end for honorable mention. So thank you to everyone for your entries, and without further ado, we're going to reveal the honorable mentions, and if you are here, you need to let yourself be known. Okay, so first, honorable mention is Joseph Malott. With an honorable mention, you will be getting a calendar, but I can't show you the calendar yet because the front page of the calendar has a certain photo on it. So they have been ordered, they're not here, but you will receive a calendar for your entry. The Bufflehead, taken at Harbor Island in Grand Haven in April. This is a really neat shot just because a lot of people see this duck and they say, oh, it's got black head and white on a big white spot there. Does that look black to you? No. When you catch it in the right light, like Joseph did, you see the iridescence of the purple and green and bronze colors on the face of the male bufflehead. And I have to say this, sorry, Jessica, she's my boss. But there are these things called Jessica birds. She hears us talking about a bird, and she's like, "What? What was that?" And she'll say the name of what she thought she heard. When we were talking about bufflehead, she said, "Dufflehead?" So here's your dufflehead. So I do a little. I should show these photos off sometime, but I do a little bit of Photoshop, and I put a black and white duffel bag on the head here for a dufflehead. So congratulations, Joseph. And David Slickers, is he here tonight? Not here tonight. David Slickers, if you're online, let us know. If you're watching, congratulations to you on your honorable mention photo of a Dunlin taken at Holland State Park in November. Beautiful, beautiful shot. Just so crisp and clear. These little guys come through. They're one of the latest migrant shorebirds in the fall, and so, but they stop over at wetlands, and especially on the pier is a great place to take photos of them because you can get pretty close to them sometimes. And last year was a good year, lots of records of them in November, and just such a beautiful shot. This is its winter plumage. Okay, it's actually a juvenile molting out of its juvenile fringed feathers here into more of a winter plumage. They turn gray. They look very, very different in the spring. I should have thrown a picture up there, but excellent photo of shorebird. We got some shorebird representation as well as waterfowl. What's next? Michael Burgeon, is he here? Oh, he's not. He is one of our previous winners. In fact, just 2 years ago, he did this cedar waxwing photo as one of our winners, and so he returns as an honorable mention with this downy woodpecker. So congratulations, Michael, with your photo of the downy woodpecker on some sumac here. Just the complementary reds of the head and the darker red of the sumac there. Just a really excellent detailed shot, and he took this photo at the same exact place, Grand Ravines North. So we know where his favorite photo taking spot is for birds. But congratulations, Michael. You'll also get a calendar. Calendars are not coming until December, I think they're saying 4th, but we're gonna say 7th is when they become available, which is the first Coffee with the Birds. So if you want your calendar, they'll be available on the 7th here at Coffee with the Birds, barring any disaster and shipping and things like that. So congratulations, Michael. And the last honorable mention, Kevin Hovens. Is he here? No, okay. We're in a dry spell here. Kevin, are you online? Congratulations on your honorable mention photo of this barred owl chick at Hager Park. Just another crisp, clean picture, and the framing of the picture too, of the owl looking off into the forest. This youngster saying, "What a big world it is out there." Just a very captivating picture that drew the attention of a lot of the judges, so we awarded the honorable mention to Kevin. So congratulations, Kevin. I need a drink. The tension, cut it with a knife. I'm already getting a little raspy here. That can't be happening. So, the 2024 photo contest winner has to be chosen. We've got the top, well, we've shown you 4 of the top 5. Now it's time for the top 1. Are you ready? Yeah. Drum roll, please. Your drum roll. The 2025 Coffee with the Birds Month Club Month winner is Ryan. Congratulations, Ryan. I know you're not here tonight, but congratulations on this wonderful photo. He was our runner-up one of our honorable mention last year, and came to love birding over COVID and just really got into it. And I'll tell you what, he has dived in head first. And when I saw that he was the winner, I gave a little chuckle. I know Ryan, and there was, again, we didn't know who we were voting for, but I think that he's going to be extremely excited to know that his is now representing on the mug for the next year. This was taken at the Grand Haven North Pier in July of this year, and he is our grand prize winner. This is the American Avocet. So do you want to see the mug? I don't need to ask you that, do I? If you can turn. So we got all the mugs here. We're going to add to it. There we go.
Really nice.
I happen to know that he had a prior commitment tonight, and so he's probably not even watching live right now. But I can't wait to hear from you when you watch this later tonight. So, I hope you all are satisfied with another new winner. We got a shorebird representation to our mug clubs now. We've got warblers, we've got cedar waxwing, hummingbirds, kinglets, all the different variety, which is great to see. This is an unusual bird, and if you want to learn more about this bird and why its bill is curved like that, and this bird exists in Ottawa County, you're thinking these things, right? If you want to learn more about that, I've switched up the order of my presentations for Coffee with the Birds this year. It's a little bit hectic to try to get those interviews done of all of our winners before the next Coffee with the Birds on December 7th, especially when Thanksgiving is so late in the month. So Riley's like, can we switch this up? And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea, actually, because it gets pretty stressful to get those videos done. And she does a lot of great work with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do those stories, the interviews. We're going to interview the winners, the honorable mentions, and the grand prize winner about how they took their photo, a little bit about the story of taking the photo. And we're going to show that in January. And for December, then, you can come and learn about the avocet. So instead of waiting until March, let's learn about the avocet so you know something about the bird that's on your mug. That made sense to me, so I said, let's go with it. So I'm going to give a presentation on the American avocet coming up on December 7th. So I better get going on getting that presentation together. So, do you know who Ryan is? Who knows Ryan? A lot of people, he's been very active in the birding scene here in Ottawa County, comes to a lot of the birding walks and outings, especially the outings. He's a professor at Calvin College, and if you don't know who he is, this is for you, Ryan. So, that's Ryan. No, he doesn't know he's presenting his own photo. But if you were in the Mud Club this year and you attended the Picnic with the Birds in July at Hager Park, we did bird Pictionary. And I took pictures of everybody that drew a bird, and we all had to guess what it was. And he did this to show his bird, and so I got a little help with Photoshop. We photoshopped the whiteboard out and put him right next to this photo. I hope you don't mind, but I don't think you will. He's got a good sense of humor. So, and what we were doing is he was dressed as a bird, okay? Dressed in the color schemes of a bird. What bird is he? Cerulean warbler? No. The thonotary is a good guess, but look at these racing stripes on the side. What's that? You got it, blue-winged warbler. But look at this. That kind of throws you off, doesn't it? Because, yeah, it does look like the thonotary, except he went so far as to say those stripes are representing the wing bars on the blue-winged warbler. So, and, Michigan, there. Go Blue, Saturday. And so what he wins is a mug and a membership. The mug comes with a membership, so when you're purchasing a mug, you're actually purchasing a membership The mug comes with that. We've got a bird feeder over here for him. So Ryan, sorry, I'm gonna make you turn the camera again. Ryan, this bird feeder is now yours, along with a bag of seed, all from DeBrine Seed in Zealand. They help sponsor this program with prizes. We're very thankful to DeBrine for their sponsorship of this program. If ever you go to DeBrine's and you see Ken, Caleb, or the other staff there, tell them hello and tell them thank you for their support of Coffee with the Birds. We've got more prizes, door prizes that will be given away at each Coffee with the Birds from DeBrine as well. He will also help schedule members-only walks in the fall and the spring, and he'll get a free birding field trip, which I know he'll take advantage of because he loves to go on the field trips. Saturdays are a day he can get out. He's teaching during the week, so it's hard for him. There you go. There's your mug for the year. So we can now reveal, see, Eric was actually holding the mug. We don't lie. We try to get creative with how to taunt everybody with the mug. This is the South District supervisor, so he does with operations. And so part of his territory is the nature center here. And we went out to the beach to get this photo. We thought maybe somebody would pick up on the clue. not saying we're going to do that every year, but I was like, oh, let's just do that. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. So what you now can do, and maybe you've already done it, is buy a Mug Club membership. It's $25, and your membership will entitle you to the 2025 limited edition mug right here. Door prizes. So if you are a member of the Mug Club, your name goes into the pot for prizes, door prizes at Coffee with the Birds. We will get a couple of magnets in your mug as well as a free hot drinks card. It's your membership card. On the back side, there's free hot drinks. You can come in during the winter and get hot drinks. Now, we do that for free here because of the Friends of Ottawa County Parks. So thank you to Friends of Ottawa County Parks for their support for these programs and for free drinks. But if you come on a winter day and you're watching the birds at the feeder, get your free drink at the front desk there. Also, it makes you eligible to come to the Picnic with the Birds event, which has been a lot of fun. We've done this 3-4 years now, I think. And we usually do that at Hager Park in the summertime. Doldrums of summer for birding. Let's get together, just have a good time. And then you have the knowledge that you support Coffee with the Birds as a program and feeding the birds at our feeders here. So thank you for your support with your purchase of the Mug Club memberships. You can join the Mug Club today. Just go to miottawa.org/birding and you click on the Mug Club membership link there. And it'll take you to where you can purchase it online. When you purchase it online, obviously it doesn't appear, and we don't do shipping. But how do you get your membership? You got to visit the Nature Center here. Those of you who have purchased your membership already, make sure to stop and be kind to Allie back there. No pushing, shoving, gimme. They're not going to run out tonight. Fine. But visit the Nature Center at Hemlock Crossing, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, or Sunday, noon to 5. We're closed on Mondays, and we also realized we're also closed on Thanksgiving Day and Friday. So don't come Thanksgiving or the day after, because we'll be closed here. But you can come again on Saturday to pick up your mugs as well. And of course, you can wait till Coffee with the Birds event as well if you want. We want to know who's in the calendar, right?
Oh, yeah.
So obviously the winners are in the calendar. They each get a page in the calendar. So that's another great thing for the winners. They get to be represented in the 2025 Coffee with the Birds Mug Club Photo Contest calendar. They're scheduled to arrive by the 7th, and we should have them there. And let's take a look at which photos are included. obviously. I tried to put them in months that, you could see them around too. They're thereabouts. So Joseph Malott in January with his, and we've got Jeff Slaughter with his photo of a peregrine falcon. And I think I was standing next to him when he took this picture because I think that this was in February on our winter birding field trip, birding the barrens. We were standing there watching a flock of birds, and all of a sudden this peregrine falcon flew right over our heads. So I think that's right. Jeff, he's not here, I don't think. Congratulations, Jeff. Dan Faber with golden crowned kinglet. Now, to get a photo of the kinglet with his tuft raised like that, that's quite a feat. I made a big deal out of getting the photo in 2018 there. That was featured on our mug by Charlie DeWitt, who was our first ever winner. This photo is just so fantastic. Depth of field brings you right into the eye there. Just love that. You're going to see that in March. And they are a late winter, early spring migrant that comes through. So March and into April, you'll see them moving through, heading north. And then in April, what comes back? Tree swallows. Scott Schmidt. Scott here? Oh, he is. I thought I saw you. Congratulations, Scott. I saw you. Congratulations on your photo of a nesting pair of tree swallows. And Vanessa Peppers, is she here? Vanessa, congratulations, Vanessa. If you're watching online or if you're watching later, your photo of a cedar waxwing will be featured in our calendar for May. We got all the flowers coming out, and the cedar waxwings love to eat these flowers and the nectar in them. So in June, then we get the Kevin Povens with his owl photo. That's about the time they're coming out of the nest. You get to see them hopping around. Lonnie Garris. Congratulations, Lonnie. His photo of a least bittern is going to represent 4th of July. This is a stinking hard bird to get a photo of. So the fact that he got the whole bird in here without any fuzz in the way of it, good job, Lonnie. You're lucky that didn't cover his bill. It might have been a different story for you. So, excellent photo. Very hard bird to see and to find that live in our cattail marshes here in Ottawa County. August is going to be American avocet. Now, the photo was taken in July, but July and August tend to be really good months to go out to the lakeshore and see avocets as they migrate and disperse from where they're breeding. And that's when they end up, they're a western bird, but they end up in Michigan every year in small numbers. And if you're patient and persistent, you can find them here in Ottawa County. But they're a prize bird. I'll tell you more on December 7th, okay? So, September, red-bellied woodpecker. You got something for woodpeckers. Doug Kuiper, congratulations, he's here. I have a question for you. Is that the same branch as the red-headed woodpecker? No. Oh. You should have. What's that? 2 trees over. Yeah. So Doug Kuiper was our winner in 2022 with the red-headed woodpecker on a branch.
That branch is to the south. This branch, actually, this branch is to the south too. But it's different tree. Yeah,
I thought, now that's something else.
Like the rock star. He's got the mohawk.
Yeah, he's got the sun is coming in and making that mohawk glow. Now I've never said. Now we can use this photo for programs and stuff now, because with your permission. So this is gonna, go in that woodpecker presentation. I'm gonna see. This bird needs to be called the red mohawk woodpecker, red crested or something, not red bellied. That's a fun one. So in October, the Dunlin, because October is when they start coming through here. So honorable mention, David Slickers. November is the Downy Woodpecker, Michael Burton. And there's one last photo to reveal. Purple Sandpiper by Carl Manning. So Manning's represented this year again. Congratulations, Carl, on your photo of the Purple Sandpiper, which I believe last year was alongside of these Dunlins right here. So you go out to look for the Purple Sandpiper, and the consolation prizes, you get the Dunlin too. So this was the prize bird last November and December at Holland State Park. I believe that's where he took this. So congratulations to all of our entries and all of our winners for the. So, Coffee with the Birds. I've been talking about this. Anybody in here never been to a Coffee with the Birds? Okay, it's all right. It's all right. We have room to grow. So please do come. I'm going to explain just very quickly what it's about. At 9:30 in the morning, we have a feeder watching session. So this is on December 7th. You come in, grab a donut, grab some coffee, complimentary, in the rotunda area, and then watch birds at the feeders with me. We'll be doing live stream again with Kestrel Imagery. So Rick is going to be helping us out with live streaming the first session again with cameras on the birds and the feeders. And then we'll be talking birds, identifying birds at the feeder, just having a good time, chatting, questions. It's very informal. It's a fun time to just visit with other birders and watch birds at the feeder and enjoy coffee and donuts. So after the first session, at 10:30, we come in here and I give about a half-hour presentation of some sort, bird-related presentation. So on December 7th, you'll learn more about the avocet, the American avocet. And then in January, we'll have videos of the interviews of all of the winners. And then after that, we do one more feeder watching session. So you can come at 10:30 if you want, if you like to sleep a little late, see the presentation, and then do your feeder watching afterwards as well. So you don't have to come at 9:30. In fact, if you're running late, it's okay. But I will say, for the first session, that room fills up pretty quick. There are people waiting at 9 o'clock to get in the door. So, no stampedes, please. And so, American Avocet on December 7th, photo contest winners on January 11th. I haven't determined what to do my bird ID presentation on February 8th, and I might ask some opinions on, and I might give you some choices and have you vote on it or something. Just couldn't decide on that one. And then in March, I'll be talking about my trip to Slovakia and Central Europe. Now, I can't cover that whole trip in the half hour that I have for that presentation here, but if you do want to see more of that trip, February, I can't remember the date.
Second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday in February, Holland Audubon Club. I'll be speaking at the Holland Audubon Club at Hope Church in Holland. So feel free to attend, and you'll get a longer version. So, and if you want more information on Coffee with the Birds or anything else birding in Ottawa County, miottawa.org/birding. And we'll see you on December 7th. That's not the end of the presentation. I always feel intimidated following up with all these great photos and that. And I gotta do a presentation, but I don't want to make everybody come out just for that. Okay, good night, go home. It's been half an hour. No. So we're gonna talk birding Louisiana. So just this past October through November 3rd, October 30th through November 3rd, I did a trip to Louisiana. Why? Some of you wonder, why would you go there for birds? Well, there's lots of good birding down there. And I had other motivations to go to Louisiana. So I answer that question for you right away. First of all, if you don't know, I'm challenging myself to a 50 birds in 50 states before I'm 50 years old challenge. So, since Louisiana hadn't been birded by me. I had to go, right? It's nice when you can combine going to a place with a bucket list item, and that is the Yellow Rails and Rice Festival. Has anybody in this room been to it or ever even heard of it? If you've been to it, raise your hand. If you've heard of it, raise your hand. You are a birder. Now you've all heard of it, okay? And I'll tell you more about the Yellow Rails and Rice Festival. Carl and Judy Manning, I think, were the first ones to tell me about this because they did a trip to Louisiana and they did part of the festival several years ago and told me about it. That is really cool. I got to try that. And so when the opportunity came, I took it. And why? Well, you go to the Yellow Rails and Rice Festival to see rails. Yellow rail and black rail in particular were my target species. Why? I have them on my life list. In fact, I have yellow rail on my Ottawa County life list. Some people have black rail even on their Ottawa County list. That was a rare one that showed up years ago here. Where was it? Can't even remember where it was. Either way, I have black rail on my Lake Michigan list too. I saw a rare one down in Berrien County. So why would I go all the way to Louisiana to encounter these birds? Has anybody in this room ever seen a yellow rail with their eyes? Joseph? Awesome. You've got a lot of birders in this room, and only one person raised their hand. Okay? Now, has anybody ever seen a black rail? Raise their hand. Ooh, wow. Where? Florida. Okay, yeah. Congrats on that, because that is an even harder bird to see. So I had heard yellow rail, and I had heard black rail, but I had never seen either of them. I used to live in North Carolina. My first black rail encounter was on the Outer Banks, actually in Manio, Wanchese area, if you know the area at all, out by Nag's Head. And I heard it in the marsh, in the black needle rush. I went out and called for it. The thing was from me to this camera away, but there was no way I was going to see it. It was dark out, and everybody said, you'll maybe hear it, and if you're super lucky, you'll see it. But looking for a black bird in the middle of the night, pretty hard thing to do. Especially when it's the size of a sparrow, and it's running on the ground. Okay? So why did I want to go to Louisiana? Because I wanted to see these birds that I had heard before. I'd heard yellow rails several times. Here in Ottawa County, late April is the best time to go out to Upper Macatawa Natural Area, one of our park properties. And at that first bridge over that shallow wetland area there, if you're lucky at dusk or in the middle of the night, they're a nocturnal singer, they'll call. I'll introduce you to these birds. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But why did I go? To see these birds. Not just say that I've heard them, but to say that I've seen them. So this is actually one of the places that is advertised when you read about rails, if you want to see them, like they say, Yellow Rails and Rice Festival, gotta go. I was just in researching for the presentation here, several places that says it on websites. I'm like, yeah, I did that, and they're right. That is the place to go. So what is a yellow rail? It's right there. See him? Gotta look hard. This is a picture by Richard Crossley. It's actually used by permission. He put this on Creative Commons for use, which I think is great because I love to see this bird in its habitat. That's a hard bird to see because look at how it looks like the dark and the yellows of the grasses camouflaged here with white and black and yellow on its feathers. The thing is a little smaller than a robin. It's not big at all. If you know what a sora is, it's smaller than a sora. Okay, soras are not very big. And when they described it as the size of a robin, I thought, I don't think it's quite that big. Maybe it's because this robin is up on hind legs or something. It's a real squatty robin sized bird. Of So what is a yellow rail? Here's the identification of it. It basically looks like reed grasses in a marsh. How's that for a description? That's by sight. Why are we talking about sight first? My goodness sakes, I hadn't seen this bird. I've been birding for 25 years. Never saw the bird. But they say if you're lucky, you'll flush them. And you see these white patches on the secondaries of the wing down there. That's a sign of identification. And that's often all the people get to see of this bird, okay? And some people, when they go to the festival, that's all they're hoping to see, is that bird flying away from them and seeing these white secondaries, and they'll scream it out, white on the secondaries, it's a yellow rail, it's a yellow rail. Get really excited. Not me, no. So they sneak around on the ground, and at night, they're very nocturnal, actually. There's a lot we don't know about them. Do they forage during the day? Do they forage only at night? Don't know some of these questions, or the answers to some of these questions, because they're just so secretive. But this is what they sound like. SOS. Well, yep. They click, and apparently they stand upright and stand up above the vegetation if they can a little bit, and spread their wings out to show the white here. And apparently that's some sort of, we guess that that's some sort of intimidation for the males and attraction for the females. And they just click away, click, 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 click. You can go out and mimic that sound with 2 rocks or 2 quarters. Works really, really well. I've done that before, and they've called back. It's pretty neat. So that's what you hope to hear when you're going out looking for yellow rail. So what about their habitat and range? This is their range. You can see during the winter, they're coastal southeastern United States. There's a weird patch here somewhere, I don't know. Yeah, it's on Oklahoma, Arkansas border. I don't know what's there that they'd be, what marsh is there, but there's a little patch there. The yellow is a migratory route, and that's actually, I would say, fairly inaccurate. It's probably inaccurate because there's not a whole lot of data out there, right? If these things are silent in migration, you're never going to know they're there, period. You're never going to see them. And if you go out looking for them, you might hear them. So we know that they come through Michigan every year. And in fact, I mean, look at this. Why would they migrate up this way and come down? So they're coming up through Michigan. They are in northern lower Michigan, but more so in the UP. And they're extremely rare up there. Seney Wildlife Refuge is one of the best places to go to hear them. I'm not going to say to see them, right? They do banding operations there as well. So Seney Wildlife Refuge. I don't know. There's one place, if you know Lake City, if you're heading to I-127, if you're heading east across the state there, we go Cadillac to I-127 to go north, and you cross that really long march right before you get to 127. You know what I'm talking about? That's the only known breeding location that I'm aware of in the lower peninsula. So, I see Joseph's planning a trip already. I've never had success there. I only tried once. You'd have to put a lot of effort in. But that is one of the places that I know that they have been historically in Michigan, in the lower peninsula. But what do they like? They like shallow sedge marsh. Okay? These are small birds. They don't like deep water. A few inches, maybe up to 3 inches along. Not much. Okay? And sedges in particular. That's putting it, I mean, when you read through the habitat, they put this species of sedge and this species of sedge and this. You're like, oh my goodness, I've got to learn my sedges and how do I ID them? That's really hard. Well, sedge marshes, it's basically low grassy sedge marsh. So when you think of this habitat, if you know Upper Mac, when you go to that first bridge, you know that there's just a little bit of water out there and lots of vegetation, right? So it's not too deep. So that's the kind of habitat you're looking for. What they really like is when the grasses kind of fold over themselves like this and create little tunnels that they can tunnel through. So they're like little mice running around in these marshes, okay? And they run like mice. They run like mice. And the locality changes due to water levels. So if it rains a lot in a year and it floods an area that they were in last year, they're not gonna be there if there's too much water. Or if there's too little water because of a drought, and they might move somewhere else. So they can be localized even depending on the year and the amount of rain. But what birds you want to see to indicate that yellow rails might be there would be sedge wren, Wilson's snipe, and LeConte's sparrow. Now, 2 out of the 3 of those we know are at Upper Mac in that little pond area. So that's a good sign that they're going to like that habitat in migration. Now, they don't nest here, but they do move through, and they're going to use habitat that they like in migration. So their behavior, again, I said nocturnal and very secretive, like a mouse walking through these grasses. Very rarely do they ever fly. They love to stay on the ground. Now, they're going to fly, but they're not going to walk from the Gulf Coast to Michigan. But these things are really awkward flyers. They're not strong flyers at all. They don't like to fly far. They'll fly up and down, if at all. They prefer to walk, so they have a diet of wetland invertebrates and seeds. So they vary their diet. They'll even eat some vegetation, some leaf material, but in particular seeds and any invertebrates, but in particular wetland invertebrates because that's their habitat. But they'll even eat, earthworms and things like that, so terrestrial invertebrates too. What's a black rail? That is a black rail. This is used again by permission. It is really hard to find It's hard to find photos of these birds, let alone photos that I can use. Black rails in particular are extremely hard to see. They're even smaller. So when we're talking 6 to 8 inches on the yellow rail, we're talking 4 to 5, 6 inches at most. I think about 5 inches. And how big is a sparrow? About 5 inches. Okay, tiny, tiny bird. So by sight, forget about it. But what a pretty little bird here. Got this real charcoal black, kind of almost bluish color, darker on the back with these little speckles that really blends in again with the dark spaces in the marshes that they live in. And so you're going to identify it by the darkness of the bird with the speckles, but you got to be careful because some of our nesting rails, the chicks, are black before they turn their natural color. So like Sora and things can look black. But if you see a little puffball of a bird with like really fuzzy feathers, that's a youngster. So it's probably not a black rail. If you see a black rail here in Ottawa County, I'm going to ask you a few questions before I believe you. No offense. No offense. But this bird is extremely rare for Michigan in general, let alone Ottawa County. I'll show you the range here. Oh, after I play the sound. Kiki-der. Kiki-der. Such a cute little sound. And this is what I did here, the full song like this in North Carolina. Now, when I heard the bird down in Berrien County, it was only a eater like that. And if you know, I was looking for this bird in the middle of the night with Caleb Putnam and a few other birders way back. It was like 2006 or something like that. And we were there for a long time before it ever responded to us. We knew because somebody had found it in this pasture. And finally it did this little keeter. And guess who didn't hear that? Not me. Caleb Putnam didn't hear it. So there we spent another 2 or more hours, and we're talking, we didn't leave there until like 2 in the morning. So I give him a hard time for that till this day, that he made us sit there and wait to hear it call again. Very hard to get to call to.
Did it call again?
It did. It did. Thank goodness. I'd have been there until daylight. Yeah, Caleb, if you're watching this video, got you on that. So their habitat and range is different than the yellow rail. They're strictly coastal, the East Coast down to Florida and Texas. Now it doesn't really show much in here, but they are in coastal Louisiana as well. Obviously, they wouldn't have a Yellow Rails and Rice Festival, but I think it's more this side of coastal Louisiana and not the bayou side. So there's more barrier islands here with protected marshes and things. That's less tidal influenced and storm influenced and things. So they might be more common over here in Louisiana. But you'll see some, look at this, they move a little bit north in the summertime up into New Jersey. The population has dropped extremely, especially this eastern population. So the northern population here is virtually non-existent anymore. And that's one reason why it's federally threatened, probably should be endangered. The estimate from I'm getting ahead of myself, from the biologist from Louisiana was that there may be 3,000 birds in the whole of the eastern population. That's not a whole lot. And he's the top expert. So I believe, but they do move inland. And sometimes they'll show up some places in the Midwest. Colorado, I think, gets them sometimes. Kansas, and little freshwater marshes. So it's an interesting species in that they use salt and freshwater marshes. And I say meadows, maybe even more than marshes, because they don't like it much over an inch of water. How often can you find a place that only has an inch of water and maintains that? That's really hard. You get hard rainstorms or storms, it's just, so they're really picky. And when you get really picky birds, they have a hard time, and they need help. So these birds are having a really hard time in the coastal areas, especially with all the sea level rise and storms that are hitting the coasts, are really ravaging the habitat down there. It's taking human intervention to make sure that habitat is viable for these species. So some of the reason why I went down there and went on this banding expedition, and he was talking about that. They're trying to find out where on the landscape what they're using so that they can try to mimic that habitat elsewhere and encourage that habitat elsewhere. I'll tell you more about that when we get there.
There's some in California.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Good eyes. Yes. There's a Western population in California. I think they're a little more common there than they are over here, but that doesn't mean that they're running all over the place and you go there and you're going to see them. No. But I do hear stories of some people saying as the tide comes in, they get forced up and out of the marshes, and so then they'll sit there and watch them coming out of the marshes onto the shoreline, whereas the tides aren't too great down here. So, but that is a different western population. So there's subspecies, and it's the eastern subspecies, Gemmicensis, I think is what it is. I have it written down here in a little bit. That is the one that's threatened. But again, they're nocturnal, we think, but they might actually forage during the day by sight, because it's really hard to hunt at night. If you're not relying on some other sense like an owl or something like that. So they're suspecting that maybe they just call at night, maybe because it makes them vulnerable. Like there's a lot of questions. When you talk about a bird there's very few of them and very hard to see and very hard to find, you end up not knowing a whole lot about them. Extremely secretive. They prefer to walk and not fly. We're repeating some of this stuff, right? Diet of invertebrates and seeds, again. And the eastern black rail, which is Lateralis gemmicensis, is federally threatened. That's the eastern population. So now you've got your background information. I'm not going to tell you the story of how I got to Louisiana. For that, you can go online. You can watch my 2 videos that I've released so far on my travels to Louisiana. But when I got there a day early because I've been on my email constantly because the schedule changes for the Rice Festival depending on weather. It's very highly dependent on weather. And they said, we're going to start the festival a day early because the rain's supposed to start on the first day of the festival, and that's not good for harvesting rice, which you'll find out why is that important. So these are rice fields here. There's a combining rice. Yep, I'm going down to Louisiana to farm me some rice. No, that's not why I'm in Louisiana. I am there to look for yellow rail. So what happens? They're trying to get the rice harvested before it rains the next day. And so I got there early and got to the field. They gave the coordinates of where to where all the people on the festival to meet, and you get a pass and everything. You get out on this field and you watch the combine go back and back and forth. Sound like it's exciting so far? Sold on next year, right? Okay. Well, you got to be a real bird nerd to want to do this. So proud of it. So these combines are just going back and forth, and what ends up happening is that at end of October and into November, yellow rails come back down south for the winter. Remember seeing the rangemen. This is where they winter, and they tend to like these rice fields because they're usually pretty marshy and wet, but not too terrible wet. It's good habitat. It mimics a marsh. So they're looking for structure. They're not necessarily looking for certain types of plants when they're not breeding. They use these rice fields. And for a long time, these farmers would be riding their combines and they'd be flying out from in front of the combine. Well, the birders find out, what do you think they want to do? They want to go farm some rice. And so the farmers and the birders got together and they created this Yellow Rails and Rice Festival. Such a neat combination of unlikely suspects, like birders hanging out with the farmers, I thought it was a lot of fun. We learned a lot about rice harvesting and a lot about rails, and we got a chance to see yellow rails. So they're harvesting. They got this big combine, and that's what they do. It's not a video. It's just there it is. Oh, there he goes again. Right? That's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. So how do you go about it? I mean, these things are going all over the field. Like, it's a small bird. It might be a split second. Yep, it might be a split second. And that's all you hope for, right? Every once in a while, it comes and it offloads the rice, the grain into the truck here. And now you see, there's birders, right? There were a lot of people. I think there were 95. They limit it to 95 people, and it sells out almost every year. So it's a very popular thing to do. They have to limit the numbers because they can't let everybody do this. See those folks up on that combine? Everybody gets a chance to do that. Ride the combine and watch for rails flushing in front of you. I've ridden the combine. So, also, they've got ATVs. In fact, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll get to that in a second. Note the ATV, right? So, how do you observe these rails? Well, here's the grandstands. Okay, this is a really wide photo. I think this is a panorama that I took of this field. There's a combine there. There's a combine out there. You can see all the people lining here and lining the edges of the field. Obviously, you can't go out in the field, but you can stand off to the edges of the field and watch as this combine comes at you, waiting for a bird to fly. Okay? And the guy in the combine will honk his horn like that, and then you look, oh my goodness, there's a yellow rail. Hopefully, that's what you're hoping. So lots of people lining here, and when they take breaks to offload, or if the riders have been on too long, then they'll stop and they'll trade out riders. You've got tickets, and they've got a whole process for how to get onto that thing. So, but you can also ride with this guy. This guy, thick accent from Boston. Oh, don't mess around with him from Boston. It was fun. He was a crazy driver in these thick, muddy fields bouncing around. He's like, hang on. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna hang on. And so these ATVs, you could ride in them, and they would ride right alongside the combine. You see this? So, and there he is right alongside the combine, because that's your greatest opportunity to see one flush, is if you're right next to it. So, not very. I mean, combine's only going probably it's probably 5 or 6 miles an hour. It's not very fast, but it's a bumpy ride. And what he would do is he would speed down to the end when he got close to the end and face the combine as he was finishing off the road, because oftentimes the rails are like running in front, so they hope that at the end of the road, the birds will flush. Okay? He's been doing this for many, many years, and this was his last year of doing it. So interesting guy, fun to ride in these ATVs. And then got to go on the combine here, and gave my ticket, climbed up on board, and it's really dusty, especially when the wind is coming at you, or actually the wind is coming with you. Then all the chaff that's coming out the back just starts blowing, and so you get these masks. You can put on a handkerchief over your mouth. Like we're enduring a lot to see these birds. Am I selling you on this? I haven't even told you if I saw one or not yet. It's all about the experience. So here is what it looks like from the front. These things thrash it, and then there's a scissors, like a shearers that cuts off the rice, and then it lands on a conveyor belt that brings it down to the center, and it brings it into the internal workings and tosses it up into the back of the combine. So very loud, very dusty, very hot. You know, this was that period of time when you were getting the 70-degree temperatures that were really nice for the end of October. It was in the 80s, mid-80s down there. I was like, oh, it's the perfect time to go down to Louisiana when it's almost November. And then it's in the 80s down there. Like, this is too hot. You all benefited from the heat down there. So it was probably one of the warmer ones that they had. It's not normally that warm. So day one of harvesting, that one day that we went early, high hopes, but they were telling me it had been dry, really dry. They'd been having a drought for like 2 months or more before. Hardly a drop of rain. And so they're like, of course, it's going to rain the first day of the festival. Like, go figure. So day one of harvesting, I did not see a yellow rail. I was bummed. And a lot of people were bummed. There were only a very few people that did. There was one combine that was several fields over that they hauled a few people down in ATVs to go ride on. They saw one way over in that field. And then it was switching fields. Way at the back here, it was switching between fields. And they saw one as they were switching between fields, not in the field. And so only the people that were on the combine got to see it. And I heard the cheers. And I turned around. Oh, you know, that was a long day. When you hear the cheers, you know what's going on. So just a very few people got to see a yellow rail that day. And then it was days 2 and 3. Rain, and they weren't harvesting. So I hadn't really planned because I was planning to do this. I just decided I'm going to do a little bit of birding on my own. I'm going to sleep in. I'm kind of tired from travels. Sleep in and go do my own birding in the area. They had events in the evening and things that I participated in. And so I went and I birded my heart out there in Louisiana. Got to see things like this vermilion flycatcher, which is always a showstopper. And this bird flew to me. I didn't come to it. I saw it off in the distance, and I sat there and was taking pictures, and then all of a sudden it flew right over and wow, right next to me. I'm like, thank you. So I really like that. And I've never seen more ibis in my life than down there. Thousands of them. They're all white-faced and glossy ibis. And if you know anything about ibis identification, the third species is the easy one to identify. That's white ibis. You can imagine what they look like. They're white, okay? Glossy ibis and white-faced ibis at this time of the year look almost identical. Very hard ID. So I did a lot of slashes of ibis types. I did end up seeing both types and identifying them. But and out here, what are these guys out here? Anybody identify these? Anybody identify things by bird heads? I did have a scope, yeah. Those are white-fronted geese. There were hardly any Canada geese down there. All white-fronteds. Tons and tons of white-fronted geese. So pretty neat to travel around and see some new bird spectacles down there in Louisiana that we don't get to see around here. And not just birds. Of course, got to include the reptiles. Alligator. That was a nice big one. He I don't know. I might overestimate, but he was probably 8 foot long. He was a big guy. So Day 4, harvesting resumes.
Okay.
Yes. Were my spirits really high? They were maybe a little higher than before, but I'm like, I hope this isn't just going to turn out like the other day. And this was going to be the last day of harvesting, unless, well, if it had been canceled, then they would have gone Sunday. This was a Saturday. But rain was out of the forecast. They started combining again. And for quite a long time, no birds, no birds, no birds. Riding in the ATV, looking, going up to the end of the row, getting to the end, and waiting for them all to flush out of the end of the row, and nothing. Very, very frustrating birding. But then it happened. What happened is I was kind of off to the corner. Everybody was over here. This combine comes around and it stops. And there were a few people around me. And they're like, it's time to switch. I'm like, okay. They're like, anybody want to get on? I'm like, yeah, I'll get on. I got on, and 5 minutes later. I was excited. I'll just leave it to your imagination. There were a few high fives. I'm sure there would have been some bottles popping if we had them. There was a lot of tension relieved after that sighting. And of course, he's honking the horn, but everybody, actually, this is a picture, this is not of the exact spot. This is kind of what my view was of the bird. So what you saw there is actually kind of what I saw. These guys were actually behind us. So we were flushing it out in front, and everybody was behind, but he honking the horn, okay? The funny thing is, it was this field right here. Actually, we were on the other side of this hedgerow. And the bird flushed to the edge, and the combine driver, of course, he was excited too, because he knows that it's exciting for him too, because they like the birds, they like the race, I'm sure that they also get paid when they give everybody the ride. So he was excited, and he took that combine and turned it 90 degrees and went right into the hedgerow there between to try to see if he could flush it again for everybody to see back behind. And it had apparently dropped into that hedgerow and then out into the other field, which is this field here. Okay? So didn't see it again, but you could tell it was so funny. All the people walked up to the spot that he had cut through the hedgerow, and they all stood right there waiting for the combine to come up and down this field, because they're like, the bird is there. The bird is right there. It was hilarious. Just this hedgerow and also people. So I was excited. I was like, okay, that's what I came to see and do. I'm good. And so my 5 minutes on that combine were done. Like, I got off the combine and somebody else got on and they started combining that next field. And then it happened again. Honking the horn. I see the bird flying out in front, and it drops down. And then there was another one too. It's estimated there were 3, maybe 4 birds in this field. And we knew they were in there. So they kept combining and trying to get them into a smaller space. One flew out and it landed right here. Oh. Right next to all these people who immediately surrounded it. Do you see the rail? Do you see it? I was on the other side of the field and I ran in mud this thick to get back here. I was breathing so heavy. I'm like, don't close in on it until I'm there, please. They were very patient and got everybody in tight. And Mr. Boston, he's right here. He's this the guy in the yellow here. He's directing everybody. Okay, everybody get in tight. No spaces between your feet. They'll walk right between it. You won't even know it. You know, he's using his Boston accent with force. So here we all are, and he says, everybody on this side start to move in. And here I am standing, I'm just waiting. All of a sudden, this guy over here is like, there it is, I see it. I'm like looking, like, where? I just see rice stubble. And then it happened. Little yellow mouse running through, catch little glimpses, and then all of a sudden, poking its head out. I started video recording because that was the best way to catch it.
Yeah.
And I've got some video to show you, so hold on. And then there he is poking out again in the little muddy area. I'm like,
Good shot.
so as they closed in further and further, the bird kind of flushed over toward me. Now I want to see how long it takes you before you see the bird in here. You're going to hear that Boston accent in the background telling everybody what to do. See if you
Right there.
He's right there.
It's literally 4 feet there.
There.
There
There he is. He's like 3 feet from me right now.
By that little opening there.
And what I'm trying to do is look at it with my eyes and record it instead of just looking at my digital screen. Okay? There he is.
In the opening. Flipping.
See how fast they are?
Wow.
Little yellow mouse. Here he comes out in the open.
Get moved. Get moved.
He was wondering what in the world is going on. And eventually, as they closed in and everybody had gotten a look, we switched places so somebody else was in front could get a really close look and everything. And all of a sudden, the bird was like, I've had enough. And he took off from literally right where the cord's going to the floor there, up and over my head and flew probably 20 yards and dropped. I ran over there. I thought maybe we could try to surround it again. And then it flushed again, and one more time, then he flew to the next field and was gone. But everybody that didn't care, he was gone. Because everybody got to see it that was there. And that was quite a way to round things off because I think his name was Steve. He said that does not happen at every Yellow Rails Rice Festival. Most people just get to see that flying away thing. But to actually surround one and get the close looks, that does not happen. And he was getting even a little emotional about it because that was his last year doing it. And I was happy for him. I was happy for everybody there. We finally got to see the yellow rail. Oh, here's one more video. Oh my word. He's coming at me. Coming forward. Can I fit between? He's probably 2 feet from me right there. Like, that's just with my iPhone here. And I'm not zoomed in a whole lot either. But, so, pretty cool. They were also banding the rails there. They did not get any of the yellow rails. They escaped. They just avoided the nets. But these students and volunteers were putting the nets up. And this guy right here was banding any rails that they could catch. So there were other rails in the field, and every once in a while a sora would get caught, or a savanna sparrow, sometimes a sedge wren would get caught, and they would band it, and you can go over to the table there. This is a sora right here. You can see here's his banding table. And he is, here's the sora. Pretty cool. Got to see that up close, which is pretty neat. Oh, before I go on there, yeah. And so they did not catch a yellow rail, but I said that already, didn't I? I think that finishes it up for the rail banding, but it doesn't finish it up for my story. Because what rail are we missing?
Wow.
The guy doing the banding, and this is actually the first night. The first day that they moved it back from a Thursday to a Wednesday. That first day of rice harvesting watching was that night. I had already registered to go on a black rail banding operation. So so now I kind of I'll adjust my story a little bit. That yellow rail that I saw jumping out from in front of the combine was not the first yellow rail I had seen. A little bit different of an experience here. But Eric Johnson is with Audubon Delta, and he's the director of conservation. And this guy is the marsh biologist with Audubon Delta, Jonathan Luke. And we went down to Cameron, Louisiana, on the coast to look for black rails. And we've got nets, we've got headlamps. We were all ready for mosquitoes, and then it was all really breezy, so no mosquitoes. They were like, I can't believe there's no mosquitoes. Normally they'll carry you away. Like literally everybody came with like the head nets and all the gear. The stories of mosquitoes down there, second to none. If you want to learn more about what I'm about to show you here, there's an article, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it, The Secret Lives of Black Rails and the Scientists Who Seek Them. These guys are both featured in that article in Audubon magazine online from February of 2019. And we met down here at Cameron, and they started talking, the habitat and all the conservation issues with black rails. And one of the things they told us was that this is Phragmites. It was on the other side of that Phragmites that was the beautiful habitat. One of the things they told us is that they actually burned this 2 years prior. And I was kind of nervous because the previous year for the festival, when they went out and banded them, they didn't catch any. And what he figured is that the vegetation was too sparse. Hadn't grown in thick enough. But this second year, he was like, it's looking really good again. Everything is kind of hanging over, creating those little tunnels and everything. So I was somewhat hopeful, but I was skeptical that we were going to see anything. So then it got dark out, and here we are with our headlamps on and our spotlights. And between us is a drag line. And that line then had milk jugs with noisemakers and rocks and things in them. So we would drag it along, and it would just make noise and hopefully flush anything in front of us. And here's what it looks like. Not as easy as you think, but you can see the habitat too. It gets caught on things that will bounce. And you can hear the wind too. They were pivoting around us at that point. And here we go, we're walking, and we see these little birds flying. What is that? It's not a rail. Can you see it down there? Anybody guess what that is? Cedron. They look like little white moths in the lights as they fly up and flutter down. They would land on the grass just like right in front of you. One of them landed on the line between me and the next guy. Like they were all over the place. And we hadn't caught any rails yet, and they had a cedron right in front of Jonathan right here, and so he was like, oh, he put the net over it, and we banded it, so at least we had a bird, right? So that was pretty cool. Well, as we're walking along, all of a sudden, the guy in front of the guy to the right of me and Jonathan at once said, yellow rail, and I was like, what? And the thing took off from behind the line between me and the next guy and flew over my head and went behind me, so I didn't see it. Oh, great. That's going to be the only yellow rail all night. It flew within like 2 feet of me, and I didn't see it. So, but then, soon after, one flushed. And the guy beside me put the net over it. We got a yellow rail. Here he is taking it out of the net. There it is in his hand. Hard to get pictures when it's flashlights flashing all around and it's dark out, but I did my best. Here he is, he's holding the yellow rail and he's putting the band on the leg there. Then he's doing some measurements of the wing length. They would blow on them to look at the amount of fat on the breast, do all kinds of other measurements of the tarsus and things. And there was a guy down here, he was doing the recording of all the data. And then they plucked one feather for DNA analysis. It's one of the secondary feathers. So we got to see a yellow rail. And actually on that night, we ended up seeing about 5. I think we banded 5. Or banded 4, saw 5, one got away. I think it was, that thing flew long distance. I was like, that's weird. Why is it flying so far? But as we caught this one, there were 2 groups, and we were talking to the other group and saying, okay, we got a yellow rail. They're like, oh yeah? We got a black rail. So we brought our yellow rail over to their group. Yeah. We had black rail and yellow rail in possession at the same time, watching them both get banded. Here he is with the black rail. You can hardly see it. It's so tiny. that gives you perspective on how tiny that bird is. They have regulations on how you can ban these things. You have to protect them. Nobody but him and the other leader could actually catch them. Even it would be illegal for me to do that. If the bird, they said, even if the bird flushes and flies up and you grab it, like you can't even do that. Don't touch it. They're all permitted. They've got all their stuff. He's the leading researcher that I know of as far as the eastern population of yellow rail or black rail. So we were all on cloud 9. Here we get to see black rail and yellow rail right next to each other. Here's some pictures of it. You can see how big their feet are. That's an adaptation from walking in marshy areas so that their toes can go over top of all the vegetation and not fall between. The red eye is really pretty too. That's a characteristic. If you see them eye to eye, then you know it's a black rail if he's got his red eye, right? You're never going to see that. Sorry, you're just never going to see that in the wild. Only in somebody's hand are you ever going to see that. And this shot, it's probably one of my favorite bird shots I've ever taken. Not because of the quality of the photo, but because of the birds in it. Yellow rail and black rail side by side. That will never happen to me again. I was sending that to all my bird nerd friends, and they were all drooling over it. I'm like, yeah. Black rail, yellow rail, mission accomplished. You know, incredible. They were the paparazzi. Everybody was popping pictures of them. You can see I got this picture. Everybody's taking pictures. Quite a night. It was an incredible experience to get out there, to hear from the researchers about the birds, get to experience the birds, and get to meet a lot of neat new people as well. And here is the release of the bird. Just watch how this thing disappears. This is the black rail. Look at the habitat too. You see a little skitter over here, and then he's gone. It may be that no human ever sees that bird again. Like that's the life of the black rail. But the hope is that somebody does see that bird again and can learn something about it and its migratory movements and such, habitat preferences at times of year by getting the band and recapturing the bird, seeing the band, knowing where it was banded and where they ended up catching it later. So that's the hope. The more you band, the more chance there is of recapture, and then you learn a lot about that bird from every recapture. And what I didn't tell you is that as we were walking over to the black rail, where the guy had the black rail, we flushed a clapper rail. And when you look at a yellow rail and then a clapper rail flies up, you're like, this thing is huge. Guy goes up, captures it, puts it in a bag. We had 3 rail species at one time to be banded. He waited until the end for this one, and I thought it was quite fitting that after we got to see the yellow rail and the black rail, we bring in the applause with the clapper rail. Right? I can't help it. I do the dad jokes. It wasn't lost on me, just the significance of that. And I hadn't seen a clapper rail like this before. I'd only seen fleeting glimpses of them before in the salt marshes there on the coast. And here he is. This is what I think would probably be the most uncomfortable part for the rail. They're blowing on the breast feathers to look at the translucent skin of the bird and see the fat globules underneath, see how healthy it is. Of course, they weigh the bird too, which gives indication of that too. But every one of those rails got the little blowing on like that. It was just kind of funny. And with that, I'm going to draw my presentation to a close and say thank you for coming. And are there any questions about my trip? Yeah.
Going around in marshy areas, were there any snakes?
You know, they didn't even mention it. They did not even mention it. I don't think that any of the venomous species like that marshy, that area. I think like the cottonmouth, they're more swampy habitats, so like trees and thicker. There are water snakes that are out there, but nothing venomous. So, but it is interesting. They didn't mention it, not even as a, hey, you don't have to worry about this. I was at one point, I was not even thinking about it then. It was, and it probably it should have been something they mentioned just because it was probably warm enough that they could have been out. I did see some roadkill snakes, some sort of banded water snake, I think it was. But I didn't see any venomous snakes while I was down there. But good question. Good question. They were more concerned with the mosquitoes than they were with the snakes. Yeah.
When do the yellow whales migrate north?
So they come to this latitude at the very end of April. So when they start, I don't know. I suppose there's data on how late they actually band them, but I'm guessing sometime in March, maybe early April, they start moving north. It's a little bit hard to know how and when they move because I don't know that they even call all the way up until they get close to breeding grounds, we're closer to breeding grounds. So I don't know when they start, but here, very end of April, very beginning of May, right in that little window. There's like a 10-day window or so, right about then that they come through this area.
Also, the California area, what part is that?
San Francisco, I think, the Bay Area there, I think is one of the better spots. There might be some other spots too, but I know the Bay Area is one.
One more question, the yellow or the red eye, does that have anything to do with their nocturnal flight?
It probably does. I'm not sure, but wouldn't surprise me if that benefits them with sight at night. I don't know how much they know about their ability to see at night. That's why there was some question as to whether they actually forage at night or if they forage during the day. So I'm not sure, but I'll have to look that up because that could very likely be. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
How about sedge and rice? Do you guys have to deal with any ticks?
Surprisingly not. Now they do have ticks down there, but they do not have as much of a problem with ticks as we do up here. Surprisingly. And I actually saw that because I was watching something else after I got back, a video or something that was talking about ticks and tick disease, and it was showing where ticks are, and there's a lot less of them down there. We're a brighter shade of concentration of ticks here than down there. They did mention it, but they didn't seem to be concerned about it. Like it's not very prevalent. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah, because you go out into a habitat like that around here, you're going to want to be looking for ticks for sure. And I did look for ticks. It wasn't that they're not there, but they just weren't as concerned about it. So the prevalence of Lyme disease and things, I think are just not as much there, I guess. Yeah.
So you've seen the black bill, you've seen the great gray owl. Are there any other like really hard to find birds in the United States you're still looking for?
Yeah. Of course. There are always. Probably one of the other ones that is high on my list that's a hard to find bird is the lesser prairie chicken. Western Kansas, Oklahoma, West Texas, and I've visited West Texas many times, but just not the right time of the year. And there's a lot of, when you're talking Texas, it's like all private land. There's virtually no public land, and access to land out there is hugely different than other places. So I've never seen them. I went by a place that I knew had been a lek, but it was like later in the spring and into the summer, so it was too late and the lek was gone. But I would like to see lesser prairie chicken. One other species that I want. So my life list in the eastern United States, so east of the Mississippi, there's not a whole lot left for me that I need to add to my life list. But one that's elusive to those of us who don't get to the Adirondacks, New York, New Hampshire. Anybody know what bird I'm thinking of? Bicknell's thrush. Got it. Bicknell's thrush. So I'm planning a trip to the East Coast for my 50-50-50 challenge, and that is one of my target species is to get Bicknell's thrush. So that would be another one. Yeah. I'll add to that out west. Any of the grouse, like the sage grouse, greater sage grouse, Gunnison sage grouse. Would love to see those, perhaps potentially before they disappear, because they're not doing well. They're not doing well with all the development out there. They're disappearing. So we'd like to go see those. Yeah. They're not up high in the mountains. They're out in the grasslands, between mountain ranges and things. So yeah, the Gunnison sage grouse is like central Colorado actually, and a grassy area between mountains. But I think Montana, Idaho, those areas, Wyoming are the greater sage grouse, if I'm not mistaken, especially Montana. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So this festival is just that one farm or two farms?
No, there's, from what I gather, it's a conglomerate of farmers. So there's one guy who's the contact person in this. He's a big time. He's not so much a farmer, but he works selling the rice, and so he works with the farmers to negotiate like where they can go. And oftentimes he'll even be harvesting with them just to help them out, that kind of thing. So it's multiple farmers, but it's all in Thornwell, Louisiana, it's a little crossroad. Like there's not much there other than like the grain bins and grain elevators and stuff. But if you know Louisiana at all, Jennings is on I-10, and it is halfway between New Orleans and Houston. So it's kind of central Louisiana, coastal. Lake Charles is just a little bit further to the west, if you know Lake Charles at all. But it's not too far from Port Arthur, which is Texas. So it's in that area there. Yeah. And look into it for next year. I don't know if they've got stuff on the website. I didn't hear any news about it, but they put these tickets on sale on a particular day at a particular time. And let's just say I took a lunch break from things here at the office to do that. And I registered and I was done registering within 15 minutes of the start. And I did not get onto the Black Rail banding thing, but had to get onto the wait list. It was that competitive. I was within, like I said, 10, 15 minutes for the whole thing, and I was number 26 that had registered, so that was pretty good. But already in those 26, the spots for the Black Rail had filled up. When I got that email that a spot had opened up for me on that, I was so happy, because that was actually one of the things I look forward to the most. So I'm glad I got to do it. So yeah, if you want to do this, you got to be on your game and get the tickets right away. So, any other questions? Hey, well then, I'm going to remind you.
There is a question over there.
Oh, there is. Oh, there's a question over here. Yeah.
This actually a photo contest.
Well, good segue, because we're moving back into this. There you go.
So if I were to turn in a photograph, am I required to correctly identify the bird in the picture?
Usually helps.
I was curious, how many do you get submissions with, and you said, whatever, you go, no, that's not whatever, but it's
We do. We get submissions that are incorrectly identified.
Disqualified.
Not automatically, no. If we get a picture that is fantastic of a bird that they just said was a yellow rail, but it was a black rail, and make it on the blog. No, it's not necessarily disqualified, because we want everybody to participate at whatever level. I do recommend that if you're going to submit a photo, talk to some birders. There's people in the community here that you can even send it to me, and don't tell me you're going to submit it. But, then if I see it, then I'll know it was you. So, there's plenty of birders in this room, so make some friends tonight. And send your photos to your friends. And actually, one of the things you can do is you can get the Merlin Bird ID app. And if your bird is not identifiable by Merlin, it's probably not going to be on the mug. So if it's, rear end shot, some bird that's, fuzzy and whatever, it's probably not going to be on the mug. But you could upload your picture to Merlin and have Merlin identify it too. It's an app if you're not familiar with it. It's free, helps you identify birds. So really great app. All right, well, thank you. And I hope to see you all December 7th for our event, Coffee with the Birds event. And I know you are all eager to go pick up your mugs. So, Thank you to everybody online. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I'm going to end the live stream here in a moment, but thank you all for your participation in this program and in the photo contest. I hope to see you on December 7th.
Yeah.